Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to this webinar on behalf of the TEFL org. My name is Carl, I'm a teacher trainer, I'm an EFL online teacher, do a bit of face-to-face teaching as well. I'm also an EFL examiner. I've been in the industry for about 20 years, worked in a variety of countries around the world, but I'm currently based here in Northern Ireland, where talking through the internet, I'm involved in the world of English as a foreign language. I do teacher training for a company called TEFL org. This is the owner of this YouTube channel. There's LinkedIn page, there's Facebook page, whatever you're watching on. This is a live video. And we help people to become EFL teachers. We do these, we do offer courses on our website, TEFL.org. We also have blog pages on there. We've got lots of information. And we do these videos to help people on a range of different subjects who want to learn about the industry. Today, we'll be talking about teaching English online. Going to talk a bit about not so much like jobs and the money involved, the economics, nothing like that really. Talking more about what you need to do to be a good English online teacher, an online EFL teacher. So if that's the sort of thing you're interested in, then hopefully this video is for you. It's a live webinar, so any questions you have come up on my screen, and I can see some people already put in a couple of questions, which is always nice. It doesn't have to be about online teaching, but that is the focus of today's webinar. It could be about anything at all to do with EFL. Also, please do let us know where you are in the world. It's always good to know. You never know, you might find an EFL friend in the chat. I can see Lucy said hello in South London. Elizabeth's here in cold West Canada. Who we got? We've got John is here in Ohio, who's doing the training right now. Let me know how it's going, John. Chris is in St. Albans. Chris is one of our regulars. Hi, Chris. Jacqueline's in central Pennsylvania and starting the training in January. Great. So please do say hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Right, let me just get this slide up. So basically, I'm going to have my slide coming up here and going to go through that a bit. But, you know, at any point at all, if you do have any questions, please do put them in the chat. Right. So question I want to ask the people watching, first of all, is what's been your favorite online teaching experience, either as a teacher or a student? So I, for example, have done quite a few different courses. I actually did part of my master's in EFL online. I've also done some variety of other different courses. And of course, I've taught as well EFL teachers. So please do put in the chat what has been your favorite online teaching experience. Right, so talk a bit today about the online teaching environment, some of the essential skills that are needed, designing and managing online lessons, building rapport, building a bit of support for your students in there, teaching strategies as well, some tools and tips. So firstly, what makes online teaching different? So the theory behind online teaching is in sort of language teaching is not wildly different from the theory that is used when you do face-to-face teaching. So if you do, for example, one of our 120-hour EFL courses on our website, the theory behind that talks about how to learn a language. And that theory is transferable online or face-to-face. There's not some mad, wild new theory to learn languages through the online platforms. Basically, it just means taking what the research says about the best way to learn languages and just doing it online instead of face-to-face. Now, some of the differences, first of all, I think is the first one is reduced physical cues. So body language, I personally think, as someone who's taught online for, you know, a long time now, I think body language is still something that doesn't quite translate very well online, and getting reduced physical cues from your students in terms of can they sort of understand you, you're sort of maybe having to sort of guess a bit. Whereas if you're looking at someone in a face-to-face environment, quite often you can sort of tell from their eyes, maybe tell from their body language, whether they sort of understood something or whether they're happy. I personally, tell me if you agree or disagree, think that that's a little bit more difficult online. Obviously, it's a lot more tech dependent. When I first started teaching face-to-face, didn't have a online whiteboard or like a classroom whiteboard, sorry. a sort of a tech whiteboard. I had like a whiteboard you would draw with a pen on. I had a photocopier and I had a textbook. Now everything's quite a bit different. The different tools, you've got your screen sharing, you've got tablets, you've got different types of microphones, you've got loads and loads of different online platforms, which I'm going to go into a bit. So obviously it's a lot more tech dependent than teaching face to face. I think there are different attention dynamics with your students. I think that if a student's sitting here looking at a camera, looking at a screen, I do personally think that their attention wavers a lot more. And, it could be because there's something going on behind the camera. I've taught people who decide to learn in like a kitchen while their mum's cooking dinner, that kind of thing. And the mum sometimes chats to them. I've had that sort of problem before. I do think that there's different attention. And of course, there are issues with different windows that might be open on the computer. Multitasking students, I do think that students multitask a bit more than they do. If you've got a student that is in your classroom, in a face-to-face classroom, and is on their phone whilst listening to you, I think that you can shut that down. I think it's a little bit more difficult with online teaching. However, I do think it's a lot more flexible, and I do think there is a lot more accessibility. I have taught students online who live quite far away from a nearest face-to-face English centre. I've taught people at times that I want to teach instead of times when I'm told to teach by a school. I've also helped people to learn at times that are suitable for them. So I do think it has a lot more flexibility. It does have a lot more accessibility. Right. So what are some of the essential skills that teachers need? I think clear communication is probably the most important one. Now, this goes to all teaching. I think when you start, it's something that you need to develop, and you get there. And it's not like a normal type of communication. Being in the classroom and having like a teacher's voice, having a teacher's way is different from how you talk to your friends, how you would maybe conduct a business transaction, whatever it might be. But I think online, you've really got to know your communication skills, what you're good at, what you need to improve, that kind of thing. And having clear communication, not just through the tech, but in the way you speak, in terms of the speed, the number of words you use to explain something, can cause issues if it's not to a good level. You need to have a bit of calmness with tech. The tech will go wrong for you, or the tech will go wrong for students. And if you panic, if you don't know how to deal with it, you don't have the confidence to know, right, if this is going to happen, then I need to do this. I think that's something you've got to get to be a good online teacher. You also need to have quite a strong visual presence. Now, I don't mean that sort of in the way you look. I kind of mean that in the way you talk to your students and you present yourself on the screen that they are looking at. There's two things you can look at. Obviously, you can look down on your sort of the windows of the different Zoom rooms, whatever it might be, and you're looking at the students, and you do need to do that sometimes. But I do think also you do need to look at your camera a fair bit, and I think doing that helps a lot. Also, just not having too much clutter in your background, so the students aren't looking at you; they're looking at what's going on in the background. Also, I think you've got to be very happy with being on a screen and sort of being stared at and that kind of thing as well. Obviously, good lesson planning. Now, if you go and do one of our courses, or you already have done one of our 120-hour courses, we teach you the good structures of a lesson. And as I said, the way these structures happen aren't wildly different online compared to face-to-face. But you do need to have different lesson planning in terms of maybe the number of activities you do, the length of activities you do, and how you're actually physically going to get the students to do the activities that you want them to do. Digital classroom management is a growing skill. When I first started, I would literally just use Skype. I don't even know if Skype's still around anymore since I moved to Zoom. I used Skype, and I had a whiteboard that I would hold up. I would send the students via email or PDF or a Word document, and they would work on it like that while I would sort of have it open on another window and we talk about it. So it's almost how I started was like a textbook basically, and they did that. Obviously now things are very, very different. You've got online tools like Blackboard, Google Classroom, all of these kind of things you can use as a management tool when you do your lessons inside them, which can help you with homework, can help you with marking, can help you help your students to learn. You've also got to be you've got to have some skills, and you've got to be quite aware of being able to build up an online relationship with someone. And ways to do that is to basically to get to know them. I think if you're happy to get to know your students and to learn more about them, I think that will help you with the essential skills that you need. Right. And I can see some lovely questions coming in. Thank you very much. Please, any other questions, I will get to them, I promise you, as soon as I can. Clear and effective communication. Or if you also, I should say, if you can answer any of the other people's questions, why not? Get involved yourself. Clear and effective communication. So how do we get this online? I pushed my button too many times there. Right. First of all, you do need to have a teacher's voice. Now, this can be for a number of different reasons. Firstly, it could be to do with your pronunciation. My natural voice, where I speak to my friends and speak to big chunks of my family, is very London accent. It's called a Cockney accent. I cannot teach like that in the classroom because I will affect my students' pronunciation. You need to have a clear teacher's voice that can be changed depending on the type of student you're speaking to. How you speak to kids might be different from how you speak to adults. How you speak to an advanced level would be different from how you speak to a beginner's level. So you do need to have a teacher's voice, and you need to work on that. You also need to have clearly thought out instructions. When you're teaching face-to-face, you're giving out instructions, you can sort of tell a bit more what the students are doing. If you've asked them to do something and then you can see they haven't done it, they've gone off and started looking at another page, or they've started talking to someone they shouldn't be talking to, you can stop and get them back. Now, if you're doing it online and you're sort of saying to them, right, okay, now open this window and type this, you can't see what your student is doing. If you've not thought out your instructions properly, if you've not said the instructions clearly, they might misinterpret you, they might not understand you, and they might go and do something, open some program that you don't want them to, or start typing the answer somewhere where you don't want them to. You do need to think out and have very clear instructions online. And what I do is, if I think a task is a little bit difficult, I just write down the instructions, check them in my lesson plan, and then I read out the instructions to them, or you can put them on the screen. A clear presentation of tasks. So when you are setting the tasks, be prepared to model them well, to give examples, maybe even to work together as a team to do the first part of the task, then set them free to do it themselves. Having clear presentation of what they need to do and how you want them to do it, and some examples, can really, really help you online. Concept checks. Now, this is something that you do face-to-face as well, but concept checks in terms of sort of saying to them, right, do you need to work with a partner? Carl, where do you need to type your answer? Mohammed, what do you need to do with that answer? Where do you need to put it? That kind of thing. Checking that they understand it can really make a difference. And use the available tools to help you. Use the chat box, use the shared whiteboard, use a shared screen to get your ideas up there. Use the available tools. Why not, to help you to communicate? Right. How do you gain a bit of tech confidence? Because having confidence, if you get through your university degree, you get through your schooling, you're probably not bad with Microsoft Word. You might do a bit of Microsoft Excel, who knows? You're probably pretty good with things like Outlook. That's quite different from being able to show students how to do something, or hold in a lesson with the tech. And you've got to sort of try and bring a bit of tech confidence. Now, the first thing that you can do to help your confidence is to know that your internet isn't going anywhere. Having a stable internet connection makes a real difference to you also makes a real difference to the students, because you know that if something goes wrong, it's not really your end where there's a problem. Okay. And it's really, really annoying for students, especially if they're paying for something like one-on-one classes, when the teacher's internet connection goes down. It's just a very, very bad look. Doesn't have to be super fast, but it does have to be reliable. Good mic, good headphones. Now, I've got a mic that I've paid for here, which cost me about £50 about 5 or so years ago, which allows me to stand up, and it does okay. But when I teach, even now, I teach with this quite old now pair of headphones that do me the job really, really well. They're just a gaming headphones. Having a good microphone, having good headphones helps your students and helps you. Good lighting. So I have a ring light up here, which I put on, which I can change the different colors. I hardly ever change the colors, but just having good lighting that lights you up can make a difference, especially if you're going to be teaching at night, I think. Right. Knowledge of the chosen software. Now, there's different ways to gain this knowledge. The number one way is YouTube. There's loads of YouTube channels devoted to this particular software, and just going through them, learning about the different software can help you. But really, the best way is to get into the software and work it out. Now, I first taught myself I borrowed a laptop off a friend, and I pretended I was teaching someone through Skype, as I said it was. And I could see what I was presenting here as a teacher, and then I had the laptop on the side, and I could see what the students were presenting. That sort of thing can help you. And yeah, you can just go through it and just see what happens. Now, creating visually engaging lessons. Now, obviously, you'll see my PowerPoint here isn't the most visually engaging, because this is sort of more of like a lecture style. It's not really teaching. But I think if you're doing it online, you do need to be very, very aware of your slides. And I like using slides for kids, adults, business English, exam English, whatever sort of class I'm teaching. Having clear and clean slides alongside your lesson plan helps you to get through your lesson plan well. It allows you to stay on track. It allows you to help you with timings. It also allows you to plan, I think, a bit more effectively. And just having slides without too much writing on, without too many confusing pictures, outlandish colors, I think helps. Maybe with kids, you might want to do that a little bit, but definitely with adults, you don't want to do that. A limited amount of text. So, and you've also got to be very aware of the devices that your students are using. If they're using something like a mobile phone, it might not come up very, very clearly, okay? Because you can sort of see in the reflection maybe there, like my text on the mobile phone comes up and then that goes down. You've got to be aware of what they're doing and how it looks on the screen, okay? Use visuals, use animations, use videos. They work well online. You share a video on your page, you can click a button on Zoom that says you're going to share the sound, and you can also say it's going to share the video. That I think works quite well. Generally works a bit better than sending them the link, I've found. But yeah, don't be okay to have some visuals, be okay to have some animations on there as well. Use color effectively. Don't overuse it, don't underuse it, but use it to help you teach. Use it to highlight nouns, use it to highlight verbs, use it to highlight phrases that you want them to do. Color really, really does help people. And use the tools when they support the lesson. Don't just think, right, okay, do you know what? I've made this lovely quiz now in Kahoot. I'm just going to throw it in there. Does it help the lesson at the stage that you're in? There are lots of online tools there. You can overuse them. And obviously, the more you learn, the more you use, the more you have to learn, but also the more that can go wrong with the student. So just be aware that they have to support the lesson. They have to be done effectively. Right. Engagement can be an issue online classes. So you quite often find that, especially with teaching group classes, that the students just sort of sit there looking a bit bored, or worse than that, they turn off the camera and you can't really see what they're doing. Right. How do you get engagement? Responses often, I think, is the best way. Keep them on the toe. Don't allow them to fall asleep and just hide in their office chair. Lots of micro drills are pretty good, especially with kids. Repeat after me. lots of mini pronunciations. And then you say, you've got your students up in front of you and you do them one by one, say their name and say, right, you repeat this. Micro drills all the time help you to keep the engagement up. Use the polls. So get them to write up their whether they think this is true, whether they think this is false. You could put a title up there. Can you predict what's going to happen here? What do you think is going to happen here? So do you think, it's going to end well? Do you think it's going to end badly? And they click and they do a prediction on a poll. That kind of thing can help. And you can also see then who is not paying attention by not clicking, because the name should come up. Short chat questions. Put a picture up. What 3 things do you see in this picture? Again, link to the lesson, link to the vocabulary. They type in 3 different words that they see. You can notice who's engaged. You can notice who is talking, who's doing everything. Very simple breakout discussions. You can have simple debates that go from what's the best food you can eat all the way up to should the United Kingdom have left the European Union, something like that. I don't know. Lots of different simple breakout discussions, having lots of simple debates on little subjects. 2 minutes, go put them in a breakout room, get them back. Really helps to keep the engagement. Very quick writing tasks. Put in the chat there. Right, okay. Here's a phrase. Use one sentence. Write one sentence using this phrase, using these vocabulary, something like that. Get them just thinking, okay, right, the teacher's going to ask me something now. I've got to quickly type something in there. Again, allows you to keep track, but keeps them awake, keeps them engaged. Lots of reaction moments, lots of reaction buttons. Type in right now, how do you feel? Start the lesson. Type in how you feel at the end of the lesson. They'll put angry face. You've realized you've done a bad job, but hopefully they'll put a happy face, something like that. Or guys, if you think something was funny, please do put the laughing emoji up, something like that. And obviously screen annotation, getting them to annotate the whiteboards, getting them to annotate a picture you've put up, the digital whiteboards, things like that can really help to get engagement. And then one of the things that I think are a bit underused but can be used really well online is role plays. You can, for kids, you can get one to be a customer, one to be a shop assistant, one to be a teacher, one to be a student. You can get them to do in business English, lots of different role plays. There's lots of things that works really well with breakout rooms. So what sort of tasks should you do online? They should be very short. They should be very clearly structured. Something that if you think that something's going to plan for 20 minutes, is probably too long to be online. It's hard to have like a 20-minute discussion. It's hard to do generally quite long write-ins and that kind of thing. So very short and clearly structured. This task, this vocabulary task leads to this reading, which leads to this grammar point, which leads to this free practice, to control practice and free practice, whatever it might be. Having short and very clearly structured, not wildly different from teaching face-to-face. Especially with kids, especially with low levels, be prepared to have a slide ready which has some examples on it to help them complete the task. Some scaffolding, so some short sentences to get them going. That can really help them well. Use your visuals as much as you can. Make it quite easy to complete. So it shouldn't be a task where they have to sort of think, right, what have I got to do here? I've got to go over there. I've got to do this, and I've got to get that, and then I write into this, and then I copy and paste that into there. That kind of thing doesn't really work. Have one page where they can do it all. Generally works pretty well. Don't be afraid to go down the route of having everything connected to real life. Have phone calls, but even sort of face-to-face transactions, like they're in a shop, or they are talking on the phone, or they're in a train station, whatever it might be. Connect it to real life for sure. That really keeps the motivation going. Right, managing your class online. Well, I can see a few questions. I hope everyone's still with me. I'm rattling on for a few more slides, but then please, any questions at all, please do put them in the chat. Online class management. Cameras are an issue. And I've taught at universities where the university has said that the students have to have the cameras on. And I see that the students, especially sort of Asian students, they will switch them on and they'll switch them back off a second later. I've seen some that sort of sit there like this and they don't really want to show their face online. They're very shy online. I've even know some that sort of have some sort of emoji thing that comes up to cover their face. Now, if you go work for someone, they will probably have a rule about cameras. But if you're doing it for yourself, for your own classes, I think encourage camera use. Don't personally from day one force the cameras. I think, build that bit of rapport and get them to feel better and feel comfortable around you, and just sort of try and encourage it. And you will find that generally the cameras start to come on more. Okay. Understand how to break how to break silence. In a face-to-face classroom, if you shout out to a class, could anyone tell me the answer to this? And it's absolute silence. You can really, you shouldn't sort of do that. You should sort of say to the students, work in pairs to answer this question, then do it. But just getting them to having the silence staring back at you, or if they've got the cameras on, you don't even know if they've heard you online is tricky. So have a way to deal with this. Put them in a breakout room, put them in groups, wherever it might be, put the answer in the chat so they type. Have lots of different ways to break silence. Good plans for technical issues. Try and work out what's going to go wrong with the tech and make sure you have a plan to fix it. Understand that they might be a bit distracted. That's kind of normal. Okay. Plan for bad participation. So what are you going to do if one goes missing, if a student of yours goes missing? How are you going to deal with it? Are you going to deal with it then and there, or are you going to deal with it later? Are you going to tell their parents, or are you going to just tell your boss, whatever it might be? Right, building rapport online is useful and very helpful. The name tools, make sure they write their name. Now, if you're teaching someone like Chinese students and they've written their name in Chinese script, you need to get them to change it. Okay, whether that's you go in and change the name on Zoom yourself, and you write their name down in, and sometimes they want to use their English name, that's fine. Or you try and get them to write down their name phonetically for you. Using the name tools will really, really help you. Get to know them, get to know what they like. Do something like a needs analysis, find out what sort of topics they're into, and then try and use those things that they like as examples. Okay, whether it's music, whether it's food, whether it's hobbies, whatever it might be, get them thinking about it. Show your warmth and show your humor. Now, you don't have to be a stand-up comedian, but you do have to be nice. You do have to be friendly. You do need to be able to laugh at yourself in all sorts of teaching. So warmth and humor does help. And, share your personality. Show what you're into. Okay, they might like some Korean K-pop band that you've never heard of, but, tell them a bit about the music that you're into, that kind of thing. Share your personality with it. Let them know about you. And if they make any sort of effort at all, especially the shy ones, validate it. Make sure that they are rewarded for trying. Right. Feedback online. I've done webinars where I talk all about feedback, but there are different ways to do it with online. First of all, don't overwhelm them with errors. Online or offline, only give manageable errors that they can fix themselves. If their pronunciation's bad and their grammar's bad and their vocabulary's bad and their fluency is bad, and you speak about all of those 4 things at once, they are going to shut down. They're going to be annoyed at you. They're not going to come back. Don't overwhelm them. Talk about one thing at a time. Use your copy and paste in chat box. So as you're going around the breakout rooms, have a little another document and you write down some errors you've heard. And then at the end of the class, you say, right, look, these are 5 errors I heard. You copy and paste them into chat box with your partner. Try and fix those. If you're doing writing correction, use something called the correction code. Look that up online. You'll see that works pretty well. Don't be afraid to give class feedback. It doesn't all have to be individual feedback. If they haven't worked very hard, at the end, say, look, guys, I would like to do a bit more effort here or something like this. If you felt like they have really improved, they put a lot of effort, give them class feedback. Also use some offline feedback tools. I'm going to talk a bit about tools in I think the next slide or the slide after, but giving offline feedback, not live feedback, can really, really help them. So online tools, what are some of the things you can do? So first of all, basically, you've got to try and keep the activities varied. So using songs that they watch, there's a British Council Kids websites that works pretty well. Then showing a picture, doing something with the picture, then playing some sort of online game, then doing some sort of speaking activity, then getting to do drawing activity, lots and lots of quick activities that are variety. These are, for kids generally, but also if you take away songs, all of those others can be used with adults. Lots of variety of activities. Use your visuals often. Use realia. So that's, things you hold up. If you're doing a lesson on food, have some food to hold up. Use some TPR activities. What's TPR? TPR is where they have to try and do something that's linked to some sort of physical action. If you don't know about that, look it up. That works really, really well online. Get a routine going. So one of your tools that you can use yourself is for them to know what they are doing step by step at each lesson, and link it to what they did last lesson. That can help you to stay on track and to keep going through the class. You can use something called, I've not personally used this. So for praise and rewards, I create a spreadsheet and I show that spreadsheet, and I can give team names and give them marks and that kind of thing. However, I have heard that there's a website app or something called Class Dojo, which is pretty good for giving out rewards. Might be worth checking out yourself. And, as one of your tools, create movement, get them standing up, get them walking around. If you've got adults, just ask them, is there any chance you can stand up for this lesson for the next 10 minutes? Something like that. See if that works out for you. Lots and lots of games. Whatever games you find that is linked to a grammar or vocabulary point, you can adapt that to go online for sure. Right. If you're teaching kids online, use slides, not like this, step by step, loads of text, but, keep the slides going, show pictures, show, click the links, embed videos, whatever it might be to help you keep going. Have a go with the collaborative tools, using the chat box. Have a go on the collaborative tools of using the whiteboard. You never know. The kids these days are pretty good with that sort of thing. Other tools you could use are things called like Jamboard. You could use something called Padlet. Does sort of depend on the age of the kids, but that can work pretty well. You can gamify using things like Quizlet. Something I've used Quizlet and I've used Kahoot. I've never used Blookit, if that's how it's spelled, if that's how it's pronounced, sorry. But these sort of things can help. All worth checking out. Some of the practice tools that they can use, such as Flipgrid. I really like Flipgrid, where they're really good at recording themselves. Use something called Youglish. You can also use something called ESL Brains. All of these work very well. And you'll find you don't need to learn all of these, but if you just learn one of them and do it, that can help. And obviously the Zoom tools, get them working within those as well. Right, some of the common mistakes to avoid before you get to your questions. Too much teacher talking time. This presentation probably had too much teacher talking time, not enough student talking time. Online, it can be easy to just fall into the trap of you talking a lot. Don't do that. Badly designed slides. Make sure that your slides look good, that they can be observed well on whatever medium they're using. Vague instructions. Make sure that your instructions are clear and they know exactly what to do. Don't ignore quiet students. Just because they're quiet doesn't mean they need to be ignored. Get in the breakout room with them and get them speaking. They might not want to speak in front of everyone. Get them on a breakout room, or use something like the online tools, such as Flipgrid, to listen to them through that. Not using enough variety, just sticking to a PowerPoint and just going through it and then not doing a game, not doing some visuals, not getting to write on it. Get variety into your lessons and don't ignore tech issues. If the tech issues is your end, learn from it, work out how to do it. If they've got tech issues at their end and it's becoming disruptive, don't just think, okay, they'll just sort it out themselves. Have a plan for them to be able to do the tech issues themselves. Right, some of my advice, final slide, is always have a plan for the issues. You need to have a lesson plan for your theory, but you also need to have a lesson plan for the tech as well. Be aware of your energy levels. If you've been standing up looking at a camera for 4 or 5 hours, it can be tricky. So just make sure you're aware of how much energy you're portraying. Learn the names of the students. It sounds simple, but it really, really does make a difference. Review the goals of the lesson at the start and then review the goals of what they succeeded at the end. And if it's as simple as today we're doing vocabulary of animals, perfect. Today we're doing the third conditional, whatever it might be. Review the goals at the start, review the goals at the end. If you can, record your lessons. It can help with students that are absent. It can also help you to look back at your lessons and see if you think you could have improved somehow. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So let's get to some of these questions I can see coming on. First one, I think, was from Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. if you're offered contracts teaching quite young children, ages 7 to 9, first thing I would say there is they are young, but that's almost kind of normal, Elizabeth. Those sort of ages, you might even be offered a contract where you teach 3 or 4 year olds, which I personally think is way too young, but there we go. Right. They're shy and withdrawn, and you have to teach online. What strategies work best? So first of all, do not expect too much with them. Don't expect, because they haven't spoken, don't think that they haven't paid attention to you. Don't think that they've got no idea what's going on. You just got to start with the things that kids age 7 to 9 quite like. And they probably like things like singing. They like playing games. Now, if you're finding that they are singing, but not saying the sentences or writing what you need them to do, don't worry about it, because they're singing. If they're playing a game and they're going into the game, that work, but they're not sort of talking outside of that, it's fine. I think don't worry about it. Just go with the game. Let them just do it. Lots of different strategies of different tasks, different variety, and then just reward them verbally when they do something that they hadn't done before. Don't be afraid to do that, and just sort of say to them, it could be you sort of say to their parents afterwards, or you put a little report in. I don't know however the reporting system is on the contract that you're working with, but just just be nice, be friendly, and be patient, because if you're patient, I do think they will get there. The other thing to be aware of is that they just, if you're working in a contract where there's levels, they might have been placed at the wrong level and they just don't quite understand what's going on. But if you think that they do understand it, just take your time with them. That's all you can do. All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. You got another question? TEFL course is short course. Yes. Online teaching. Yeah. So basically, we offer a 120-hour TEFL course, which is what's needed to basically become an EFL teacher somewhere in the world. We've done thousands of these courses for people who are teaching around the world down the years. Now, we also have add-on modules. So, for example, if you're going to go into business English teaching, you can do a module on business English teaching. If you're now going to go into online teaching, you can do a module on online teaching. So this is the kind of thing that Elizabeth here is talking about. And yes, our courses there do offer some help with teaching online. So it covers with things like tech checks, how to check your technology, and also how to set up plan Bs for you and your students in case things go wrong. Worth checking out if you're going to do some courses. If you are going to go teach online. Andrena, I hope I've said that right. Right, Canva. So what is Canva? Canva is a tool that is sort of used for designing things. So it's, you can design things like marketing tools, but it can also help you to create AI images. It can also help you to create slides. It can help you to create worksheets. It's pretty good for anything that the students need to look at. And yes, it does work pretty well. There's a free version and a paid version. Do you need the paid version? I would say probably not. You might be able to do it on the free version. You got to remember, once you've collected the material, we created the materials once, you can use the materials over and over again. But Canva, I think, is one of the best things you can pay for if you do need to pay for something. It's not just for your teaching. It can help you with a whole variety of different things. Yeah, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good, Canva. But it's nothing to do sort of specifically with online teaching. It's not something where the students go into and the students do something. It's what you do to help present yourself. Supana, hi. Sharing external links related to the lesson might also be effective. Yeah. So yes, for sure. The only problem with doing an external link to, like if you say to them, right, watch this video or listen to this song, whatever it might be. If they are watching on a mobile phone, it can take them off your page and onto something else, and it can be quite difficult to get them to come back. So that's the first thing to be aware of. It can take takes them away from what you're doing, and if their connection's bad, or if it takes them somewhere with an advert, They might be ahead, they might be behind, something like that. So just be a bit aware of certain external links. They're pretty good for outside the classroom, after lessons, before lessons, for sure, 100%. But generally, I think the best way to do it yourself is to put the image up, if you can, yourself, and share the sound like that, so they're all watching at the same time, and you have a bit of control over it. However, I do realize that the quality is maybe not quite as good. Suparna, if you've got any advice on anything like that, please do put that in the chat of what you think. And there's some links in the chats on Facebook and YouTube about the sort of different information that we have there. Yep, Suparna, glad you got it. I hope that answers your question. Right, my slides, Elizabeth. So my slides actually come, I use a Mac. What's the Mac software called? It's called Keynote. That's how much I pay attention. So my slides are created on Keynote. I probably should be a bit more adventurous with my slides for these webinars, but I usually have a lot to say, and they kind of help me. So yeah, you can of course use PowerPoint. You can of course use Canva for sure. I just use a Mac, so I use Keynote because it's included. Right, I think that's all the questions. Thank you for those. They've been really useful. I can see people have tuned in from Colombia, which is lovely. Nigeria. Oh, that's great. So we are literally all over a rainy northwest Spain. Ruben's there. Ruben, I'm in rainy northeast of Ireland. Trust me, I bet I'm rainier than you. Yeah, so loads of information there. Thank you very much for saying that. Right, so basically, if you want to teach online, I've done lots of other webinars which sort of handle the business side of things, you know, how to get jobs, how to apply for jobs, how to find your own students. There are webinars on the YouTube page, our YouTube page. If you go to YouTube and then you type at the top TEFL.org, TEFL.org, you will find our YouTube page full of lots of different things. Might be worth looking at that if you're looking to get the jobs, or if you want to know exactly what tech you need to get, things like that. But basically, get your 120-hour certificate. That'll teach you the basics of how to teach, and then you go from there. That you then sort of do add-on modules if you need to, but you might find that you feel like comfortable enough to do it yourself. Thank you to the people saying thank you in there. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We've got lots of more information on our website, TEFL.org. We've also got a Facebook group where you can ask some questions in that. You can also, you know, from our website, send us an email, whatever you need to do to get in contact with us. And please do go on our YouTube page and have a little like and a little subscribe. Or if you didn't like it, put in the chat why you didn't like it. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.